There's lots of people out here.
Definitely a good shot.
Close.
Ah! Okay. All right. Okay. That guy was right. Okay, let's go.
Holy shit, guys. There's a little animal right there. I think it might be a little bobcat.
Get ready to enter a world where quiet trails, abandoned campsites, or even seemingly peaceful deserts can turn into a nightmare in seconds. Watch closely, and you won't forget what you're about to witness. Arnold Outdoors is a channel all about simple camping trips, off-grid nights, and exploring the Pacific Northwest. But on February 12th, 2021, a quiet winter trip turned into something far more tense. He and his friend had spent most of the evening searching for a place to camp, driving deep into the snowy back roads, until they finally found a secluded spot. There were no tracks in the snow or signs of recent visitors there. By the time they set up, cooked dinner, and settled in, the forest had gone pitch black, and everything around them was silent. But sometime around 11:30 p.m., that silence broke.
Yeah,
Yeah, what was that? A gunshot?
gunshot or a vehicle? Vehicle. Or Bigfoot's f***ing screaming. There's day, dude. Sound like a vehicle on a gravel road.
But the more they listened, the clearer it became. Someone was firing a small handgun out there, and whoever it was were getting closer.
Hopefully that was freaky sounding.
Ears up, yeah.
Twice, loud as hell.
Almost sound like gunshots.
It did almost sound like gunshots echoing. But there's lots of people out here.
Definitely a good shot.
Close. Really close. Like within a mile.
Probably within half a
Half a mile. It sounds like a 22 and it sounds like it's coming from that way.
Sounds like it's coming from behind you.
It's 11:30. Someone must be going to bed. Shooting guns off before they go to bed or something.
Scare all the coyotes off.
Sounded like a 22 to me.
Kinda, yeah.
Cracky, snappy.
Or a handgun.
Yeah.
Might have been a 9.
It really sounds like it's coming from that way to me. I'm gonna turn my head.
They paused for a moment, nerves on edge, and trying to figure out their next move.
I feel like we should at least once. Yeah. Just one shot. So they can't pinpoint us, but they know we're here. You know what I mean? I'll shoot Maggie.
Oh, you got an extra round? Don't shoot
I have one extra silver tip.
No, don't do that.
Moments later, the sound of an engine echoed through the trees. The headlights appeared next, slowly sweeping through the darkness. That was when Arnold realized it was time to take immediate action.
Vehicle.
Oh, it sounds like they're moving. Let's turn that off.
Yeah, go. Yeah. You want to
You
get
got
it?
it. You can do it.
Yeah, it sounded like a vehicle to me. Revving up.
Oh.
They're right in there, dude.
They're like driving around shooting.
Hooting and hollering and shooting. It's teenagers hooting and hollering. The lights. They might shoot at us. Kill it and get low. For real.
They quickly turned off all the lights as the group outside kept getting closer.
It's like, fire, don't fire, god dang, right there. No. I'm pretty sure he said, fire. The one dude said, where? And then he said, god dang, right there.
Yeah,
pointing towards
like
our
a
fire.
Yeah.
Like they saw our fire.
The group eventually moved on, still shouting and firing randomly as they drove off into the dark. But that incident had been more than enough to send their adrenaline through the roof. Later, once things settled down, Arnold and his friend walked down the road to confirm they were gone, checking tracks under the full moon. And only then did they finally head back to camp to try and sleep. But the night wasn't done with them. At around 3 a.m., the wind picked up, and their pop-up shelter tore loose, flipping across the campsite. They scrambled outside in the freezing cold to grab it before it blew away again, eventually taking the walls down and tying it off. And by morning, the tension of the night was written all over the campsite, the overturned pop-up, the tracks from the vehicle, and the lingering question of what might have happened if the shooters had gotten even closer. Alexander is the man behind the channel, Smotri Suda, dedicated to solo trips and exploring the unknown in the forest. But on this night, on July 29th, 2021, Alexander was alone near his tent, eating his fish, when strange sounds started creeping through the darkness.
What the hell is this? What the is this? What the is this? The is about to start. Oh.
High-pitched calls echoed through the trees. The sounds were eerie, and something about them felt off. The setting sun cast a dim glow across the landscape, but he still wasn't sure what was out and what had made those sounds. He stayed alert, whispering to himself and trying to remain calm as the forest seemed to watch his every move. Every crack of a branch made him tense up even more. And by morning, he finally allowed himself to rest. Nothing was gone, nothing had attacked, but the forest still felt like it was watching. The northwest wind spends his nights testing limits and camping under the stars in thick, shadowed forests. And on September 13th, 2025, Sam headed back to a forest clearing where he had camped before. The tent from his last visit was still there, half hidden in overgrown weeds and thick underbrush, and the air was heavy with the forest pressing in on all sides, and every step through the thick prickers made his heart jump. As Sam found a nice camping spot, he started setting up his gear. But strangely, the woods felt even more alive.
I feel like I'm being watched. Every direction that I look in is all completely forested and vegetative, so I just have no bearing or sense of what is actually beyond like my zone number one, like zone one being like within 50 yards, everything I can see. It's only just before 8 o'clock, still a little bit of sunlight left, but I just feel that feeling again. It's not as strong. I don't feel like, I don't know how to describe it. Just the vibe. There's a vibe here and I don't like it at all. There's also a very weird smell.
Every rustle made him stop, his eyes jumping toward the trees. Even during dinner, he kept catching faint shapes slipping between the trunks. And just as he thought, it couldn't get any worse. The night took a different turn.
I did just hear someone yelling back there. Someone's yelling back there. I don't know how far away, reasonably close. And I hear people walking too. Might not be easy to pick up on the camera, but not that far behind me.
His heart was racing, and he kept talking about that uneasy feeling he couldn't shake. Throughout the camp, he could hear people moving closer, footsteps brushing against thick bushes. At one point, things escalated, and the woods felt like they were closing in on him.
I think I saw one person earlier walking way back far over there. They were heading kind of horizontal. Don't even think they looked over and saw me. There's definitely people back in there. I can see them. Holy crap, okay. Okay. That was as real of a reaction as you're gonna get, just like the last video. God, that scared the living out of me. Okay, I need to calm down.
He grew more cautious by each second, every sound making the darkness feel a little closer.
They're like 200 yards that way. Just standing there. There's like that overhanging tree right about there. You could barely see it beyond my fingers, and they're just standing right there. I only see one person. And the last thing I'm going to do is run through the forest again in the middle of the night with no idea what's going on behind me. So we're going to hang tight here for a few minutes and try and feel this out. I might honestly just walk over there, but I don't think that would be the safest thing to do. Get my headlight out, hang on. Someone's walking back. Super thick over there. Someone's walking back behind this over here. And now they just stopped. Hi! I hear somebody talking. It's definitely humans because you can hear the two steps. You can clearly hear the gate, as Tony Random Adventures would call it, the gate. You can hear it.
A little while later, Sam gathered the courage to head back into the forest and check on the strange sounds he had heard earlier. But just as he began searching the area, something happened that made one thing certain. He would never set foot in those woods again.
Hey, how are ya? Yeah, I don't think we're gonna stay tonight, boys and girls. Ah! Okay, okay, okay. All right, okay. That guy was right. Okay, let's go. All right, I'm out. See ya. See ya. Okay, okay.
And this time, the forest had claimed the night, and Sam left with the feeling that it wasn't done. Jens is a creator who documents solo adventures in his 4Runner, focusing on off-road trips, truck camping, and cooking outdoors. And on November 15th, 2025, he headed out alone into the desert for an overnight trip. His aim was to find a quiet spot and cook a simple but satisfying dinner. The day started off easy. The 4Runner pushed through a muddy stretch better than Jens expected, and with the rough terrain, he figured he'd have the place to himself. It was a perfect solo night, but with that slight edge that comes from being alone. He spent the evening journaling, setting the fire, and enjoying himself. But even then, the desert still had a strange feeling to it.
So it was a little bit eerie going out all alone. Just in the desert for me. I don't know what it is, even though this is where I live right now, but I've done a lot of solo camping in my life at this point, and I've never feel like a little bit eerie. I don't know what that feeling is.
And out of nowhere comes a small animal right up to his vehicle and sniffs around the back.
Holy shit, guys. There's a little animal right there. I think it might be a little bobcat. Coyote.
Shoo! Go away!
I hope he's not attracted to my food.
What was that thing? God. I'm gonna eat this in my freaking car. I don't want to be out here. That's off.
Jens stayed calm, but definitely alert, as it checked things out. However, things turned nasty when that animal wouldn't leave him alone.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's safe to say we are not alone out here. Jeez. You can call me a baby if you want, bro. But I have no idea what is outside my car right now. Some type of critter animal.
After cleaning up, he got into the rooftop tent. But the feeling of being watched never fully went away, and the desert made every small sound feel bigger than it was. Morning finally leveled everything out. Light came in, the desert was quiet again, and Jensen took in the view before packing up. He had to deal with the mud one more time on the way out, but the night stuck with him. A reminder that even on a calm trip, you're never completely alone out there. English Woodsman is a YouTube channel where Daniel, the creator, goes out into small patches of woodland and urban forests exploring and filming the experience. But on June 15th, 2025, he returned to a small urban woodland that he'd visited before. It was a place that was easy to overlook, but one that always gave him an uneasy feeling. He walked around exploring, unaware that his camera was catching something eerie in the background.
So there is signs of probably kids or someone camping around here.
But Daniel didn't pay much attention to the noises and didn't think anything more of them. He simply began unpacking, setting up his tent, starting a small fire, and using a cheap Chinese stove and a skillet to cook some pork chops. As night fell, the quiet of the woods became more intense. The wind was minimal, but branches moved and twigs snapped in ways that weren't immediately explainable.
Just feels so uneasy, so unsettled. Wow. I'm going to play that back and see if I've got that. I'm not too sure with, obviously snipped through the GoPro, but yeah. That sounds a very weird noise. Like a weird animal noise what I hadn't heard before.
Then, weird noises outside the tent stopped him mid-sentence.
Dropping a hint at me. That's my stove, that. Hello? That was my stove being moved.
He told himself it could be a fox or badger, but the way the movement happened, and looking back on the earlier footage, you can't help but think about something else. The sounds kept coming, and no one was visible, with nothing out of place besides the subtle movement of his stove. He stayed quiet, not moving, just watching the edges of the firelight. Morning brought light, but also more questions. The stove had moved again overnight, but the area showed no signs of recent human presence. Packing up, he felt the weight of the woods in a different way, calm in the day, but alert and watchful at night. Roaming Reckless is a channel that follows solo overland camping adventures, often with her dog Tazzy. On October 26, 2025, she set out for a weekend in the Colorado desert. What started as a routine camping trip quickly turned into a test of patience and caution. The night before, a heavy thunderstorm had swept through the area. The campsite she had picked was well reviewed but came with a clear warning. If it rained, vehicles could get stuck. By morning, the clay-like desert ground, locally called gumbo, had transformed into thick, sticky mud. Walking across it, even with Tazzy, was tricky, and any attempt to drive the truck out could have ended in disaster. Worse, she discovered the area was under a flood watch. Flash floods were possible, and there was no way to leave until the ground dried. She spent the day carefully managing the situation. First, she checked water levels in the dry creek nearby, making sure Tazzy stayed safe on the edges. She wiped down muddy paws, organized the truck, and handled chores like washing dishes and tidying gear. All the while, she kept an eye on the sky, watching for any worsening storms. It was a waiting game, but patience was the only option. The rest of the day was spent inside, letting Tazzy settle while monitoring water levels from a safe distance. The flood threat and the sticky mud meant they couldn't go anywhere, but she stayed productive, using the time to organize her truck and get some work done via Starlink. Late that night, everything went silent. Then the voices started.
That was crazy.
A whole group of coyotes had closed in, their calls echoing through the dark. She sat frozen in the cab, listening as they moved around her, too close and far too calm for comfort.
Oh my gosh, I see them. Yeah, I literally see them out there. Funny.
The next morning brought relief. The sun came out, and the creek had receded. The mud began drying, giving them a path out. She and Tazzy were safe. By mid-morning, she was able to start planning her exit from the campsite, confident that the ground could now support the truck, and nothing dangerous was nearby. Neo Bailey's channel is all about camping and the wild outdoors, and on August 30th, 2021, he was doing the exact same thing as always. The night started out quietly, with him zipped up in his tent and just settling in. But then the noises outside made his blood run cold. These were the howls of wild coyotes. He grabbed his flashlight and stayed inside, listening as the coyotes circled his tent. Gradually, the noise faded and the coyotes moved off. But for a while, Bailey felt the tension, but with nowhere to go, he had to stay hidden and completely silent. If these stories send chills down your spine, be sure to like and subscribe.